All right, welcome to another Affinity Photo tutorial. Today we're going to have some fun and we're going to build a space scene from scratch. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll start off with a new document, and for this we're just going to go with a 1920 by 1080. Very first thing we need to do is we need to create a star field. So let's create a blank pixel layer, and we'll grab our flood fill tool. Make sure that we're flooding with black, and we'll go ahead and fill that layer. So now what we need to do to this layer here is we're going to go ahead and add in some noise. So we'll go to Filters, Noise, and Add Noise, and we'll go with about, I've got it 50% here, so we'll go with that for now and apply that. And so right now we're looking at this and it just looks kind of way too much. So let's go in here and let's apply a threshold to this, and by moving our threshold around, we can change the way our star field looks here. So we don't want too many stars. That looks good right about there. So we'll go ahead and accept that and make sure that we pull that down onto our pixel layer so it's only affecting that. And then the last thing we'll do to this layer here, let's give it a Gaussian blur, and we'll just bring the radius up like about 0.1 pixels. That looks good. This way it kind of fades out the stars just a little bit. All right, so that's our star field layer for now. So now we need to create a little bit of atmosphere and color. So let's create another blank pixel layer above that. And we'll go to our paintbrush tool here. And let's see, we're going to create kind of like a nebula looking thing. So come over here to like the purplish color like that. And make sure you have our brush selected here. Go with a hardness of 0. Let's go with a flow of about 50 on this one. And let's increase our brush size up quite a bit. We're just using a very soft brush here. And we'll pop a little bit of color there. And maybe we'll change it over to like a blue or bluish purple. Pop in a little bit of that there. And that's looking a little intense. So let's go ahead and just change the blending mode to screen, and then we'll bring the opacity down just a little bit so we can kind of see the stars through it. Next thing we want to do is bring in our spacecraft. So for this, we can do this right from inside of Affinity Photo. We can go up to the stock tablet here, and we'll just type in spaceship. And I had found one here earlier that looked pretty cool for this kind of a scene, this one right here. So we'll just drag that over and drop it. And bam, we've got a big old spaceship here. And we need to isolate this. So let's come back to our layers. We need to rasterize and trim this first. And then we'll get our selection brush. We'll bring the size up quite a bit. And we'll do like a real quick selection to this. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then once we have that selected, we will Command C to copy it, Command V to paste it, and then Command D to deselect. And then we can get rid of this underlying layer here. We don't need that anymore. And now we can take this and scale it down a little bit. It's kind of big. And we'll put it, we want to make it the focal point of our image here. So now what we need to do is create some propulsion for this because it obviously has engines in there. So let's create another blank pixel layer below it. And we'll come over to our brush and we'll start off with like a blue. And we're going to bring our brush size down quite a bit here. And we're just going to pop it right behind where we think the engine would be. It probably has 2 engines, so we'll put one there and one there, even though we really can't see it. And then we'll switch over to white. And bring our brush size down maybe a little bit more, just to create a little bit more of a hot spot in the middle. And you can kind of do this to taste. So now what we want to do is we want to make sure that that's only showing up around the outside of the spaceship. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and select our spaceship, Command and click, make sure that we have our layer here chosen, and we're just going to delete and deselect. So if we were to turn off our spaceship, we can see we just have the propulsion right there. Really, to kind of blend this in a little bit more, our spaceship is really bright here. Let's come to the blending options of this. And we can play around with the blending options a little bit here to kind of blend it into the background a little bit more. So we'll bring the darks down a little bit here in the source layer, and can also bring it down just a little bit in the underlying composition. So you can see how it's a little bit more of a realistic blending going on here. And that looks pretty good right there. Okay, also if we're out in space and it's really dark, we need some lights, because or else we won't be able to see. So let's create some running lights for this. I don't know if these little turrets here were lights or if they were guns or whatever, but we're going to turn those into lights. So from here we're going to add in a blank pixel layer, and let's get a very whitish blue color, because these are like halogen lights. Grab our brush. For this we're going to bring our flow up quite a bit. Actually, you know, for right now let's bring it to 100. And let's bring our brush size down. We'll zoom in, and let's go ahead and pop some light there, there. I'm going to scroll down here. We got some lights underneath. Okay, let's zoom out a little bit and see what we've got there. That looks kind of cool. And then probably what we need to do is put a little bit of a flare on these lights as well. Let's bring a pixel layer in below those, and we'll make this a little bluer for our flare. Let's just pop one right there. And we'll grab our move tool, and by holding down Command and Option, I'm going to drag that out, create like a flare, and we can move that right onto the center of those two lights. And if we hold down Option, we can create a copy, bring it over to here, create another copy, bring it down to these, and down to these. So we've created our flares for our spaceship. All right, so why don't we go ahead and bring in a planet now to give us a little bit more depth. So we're going to come back to our stock, and we're going to type in planet. And I really like this very first one here, this real orangey one. Of course, we're going to take a little bit of artistic license with it. So let's go ahead and bring it in, and we'll zoom out and resize that down. Let's leave it pretty big though, because we can always change the size later on. And again, this one is it's a stock image. It has a black background. So let's go ahead and rasterize and trim that. We'll zoom in a little bit here. We'll grab our elliptical marquee tool. We'll make sure that we have from center chosen here. And we'll come right about into the center of this picture, click and shift drag. And we'll get it pretty close to the side of the planet there. We can move our selection over. And we'll go ahead and copy, Command C, Command V to paste, Command D to deselect, and then we'll get rid of this layer here, and we end up with our planet. So we're going to relocate that over to this corner out here. We don't want it too close to our spaceship. We can make it a little bit bigger. And we are going to drag it down below our spaceship, so we can maybe drag it out a little bit. Now the color on that's not working for us, right? Because it's so out of character. So let's come down here, we're going to add a recolor effect. And we're going to make sure that recolor effect is just on the planet there. And we'll bring this in to maybe, again, like a bluish color. Let's bring the saturation down a little bit. Bring the lightness down a whole bunch. And that's looking pretty good right there. And again, we can move it around if we don't like it. If it's too close to the spaceship, we can move it up and out. And now we kind of want to make that pop out a little bit also from the background. So we'll come down below it, add in a blank pixel layer, come over to our brush, and let's drop the flow down quite a bit on this, 25%, and we'll increase the size of our brush quite a bit, and bring the flow up just a little bit more, bring it up to a 45. If we look now, we can get and pop a little bit of atmosphere around the planet there. That's looking pretty good. And then if we bring the flow down a little bit more, let's add in, because out in space, we've got space dust. So it's not completely black. So we're going to add in a little more around our edges here and a little more atmosphere like that. That's looking pretty good. And then to grunge this up a little bit more, let's come up to the top of our stack. We'll add in a blank pixel layer. We're going to grab our flood fill tool. Let's make our color pretty dark medium gray. And we will go ahead and flood that. And we'll add in some noise here as well. So I'll come over to add noise, and we'll leave it at about 50% right there. And we can change the blend mode on this to color dodge, and we can bring the opacity down to where we get kind of the atmosphere that we're looking for. Again, we're trying to grunge up the entire picture there a little bit. And so if we zoom in now, here we go. We've got our planet, we've got our spaceship with running lights, we've got some propulsion, we've got plenty of atmosphere and space dust. And there you go. This was just a really fun way of starting from scratch and creating a space scene. If you learned anything from this, or if you can use any of these techniques, please hit the like button or think about subscribing for some more tutorials like this one. And thanks for watching. Till next time, peace. Talk to you later. Bye.